Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is commitment. And what does it look like and how does it shape our lives and just all different aspects of what is it to be committed. And as always, hopefully it'll be an engaging conversation. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding into your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine this time brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells and your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just press our palms together, rub those palms together to get that friction going, moving that energy, feeling the temperature, and becoming aware, bringing yourselves present to this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So commitment, what is it? What is it? We often talk about being committed. What are your commitments? And I think it's an important question to look at. Well, what is commitment? What does it mean if I'm committed to something? And when we talk about commitment, I don't think we can have the conversation without looking at resilience, because when we have a commitment to something, we have a focused determination. That focused determination gives us a resilience to weather the challenges that may arise. Good morning, Rosalind. So good to have you here with us this morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we're talking about commitment. And I think we were just talking about the resilience that you can get through a commitment. Like when you have a commitment, then that you are owning, that you are committed to. It gives you the opportunity to weather all kinds of disruption or challenges. So I have, like, as an example, I'm very committed, deeply committed to the clients that I work with. And sometimes my commitment doesn't jive with we may have a difference of view about something, or I see something that sometimes they don't want to see or they can't see. And as a result of me seeing whatever this is, I've had clients get pissed off at me. I have. And it's totally okay. And I recognize that the upset that might arise in the context of our work is part of our work. And how I'm able to recognize that is because I'm committed. That the space that we work within is a transformational space, and it brings up all kinds of stuff. So there's this container that gets created, and within that container, all of the stuff that's occurring is in the name of transformation. And so it's really interesting. It's been a week that has brought some of that to the fore, where sometimes people get upset. And my job is to be there with them in the upset and to be clear about my intention and my commitment to them and their growth and transformation. And so it's interesting in that context, questions arise as to whether what I'm seeing is true, whether I'm seeing clearly for them or into them, or whether I'm just stuck in my own vantage point. And I think that it's a really important question when we look at our commitments. Are we being blinded by our commitments? Because this is the dark side of commitment, right? Are we being blinded by our commitments to the point where we are unable to entertain another vantage point? Or do we get to be willing to suffer the good morning, Dido. Welcome. So glad to have you here with us this morning, and for this conversation about commitment. So do we allow ourselves to get blinded by our commitment so that we don't see the whole picture? And what I noticed in the context of a couple encounters this week where my perspective, my perception, or my response was being challenged, aggressively challenged. Yesterday we were talking about shoot the messenger, where I was the messenger. Then the question is, what's my commitment? So in those moments, excuse me, in those moments, when we're confronted by these kinds of situations, what we get to do is to be even more deeply present. And in that deeper and deeper presence, hopefully there's greater discernment and greater capability to sort through. And what was remarkable and wonderful in these circumstances that could have been explosive confrontations, they were aggressive confrontations from the other side, which was okay, which was totally okay. To be able to be present to that allowed those circumstances to transform into a deeper communication. And where that came from was my commitment, because my commitment wasn't to being right. My commitment was to the other person and to forwarding their highest good without asserting that I necessarily know better, but to be present to whatever was going on in the dynamic of that. So it's very interesting to me, a pattern that I've witnessed, that when we make a commitment to something, when we commit, what tends to arise is all the challenges to that commitment. And it makes it an interesting journey, because when our commitments are challenged, we may have a tendency to say, is this just telling me that I shouldn't be doing this? Is this telling me that I'm going down the wrong path? And it may be whatever those challenges may be telling you, you're going down the wrong path. Or those challenges may be arising for you to be able to recognize your commitment and deepen it, and maybe even give it more dimension, maybe give it more, a greater richness of perspective. So it was very interesting to me in these encounters to recognize the deepening of my commitment as I was able to express it to my clients. To say, you know what, I'm really here for you. Like, understand that I'm not going away so easy. It's like, I get that you're upset. That's fine. Let's work that through. And there's more available to both of us, but there's more available to you here. That this is to allow ourselves to know what we know, even if other people don't like it. So along with this, good morning, Gia. So welcome. So wonderful to have you here with us. Welcome. So we're talking about commitment, and commitment can often, well, maybe not often, but it can look like standing, I'm going to say standing firm, but like a willow, rather than the oak that's immovable, but standing firm, having a solid grounding in the earth, and also being able to move with the wind, to be able to have that interactive dynamic. And sometimes that dynamic is with ourselves as we explore our commitments. Like, all I can say is that through these conversations, I got to recognize in myself a level of commitment that I hadn't even known was there. That I was committed enough that it was okay if people were upset with me. And I was clear on I was clear. And I'm just wondering, like, for you, as we look at what in our lives are we committed to, we can see this from our behavior in lots of ways. It's not just that we make a conscious and deliberate commitment to something. That's not the only place that commitments reside. Some of us are really committed to keeping ourselves small, to really committed to maintaining that perspective of ourselves and our lives. And we can see that commitment in the ways that we behave toward ourselves, in the ways that we limit ourselves, in the ways that we tell ourselves that we're not capable, or we're not worthy, or we're not strong enough, or smart enough, or young enough, or attractive enough, or intelligent enough. There can be multitudes of reasons that or ways in which we keep ourselves small. And that's a commitment. If we have that commitment, that's a commitment we get to roust out. You know, I think what we get to do is to observe the kinds of commitments that are enlivening to us, and those other perhaps invisible commitments that drive us and perpetuate patterns that are reductive and limiting. So I think just as it's really, really powerful to bring our values to conscious awareness, I think it's also very powerful to look at our commitments. And it doesn't mean, like, if I have a commitment to health, it doesn't mean that every minute of every day I'm doing the most healthful thing. But what it does mean is that if I have a commitment to health, whatever that might mean for me, what it does mean is when I get off track, that my commitment is strong enough to bring me back. You know, my commitment is bigger than the behavior. How about that? So there may be a behavior that's out of line with what my commitments are. It doesn't mean that the commitment gets thrown out the window if I fall off the rails. I get to get back on track. So Rosalind says commitment is like not giving in to your disruptive impulses. So in this example, exactly, like you might fall by the wayside. Then you get to recommit. So Gia says commitment comes with practice, discipline, self-love. What say? So I love that you brought self-love into the picture there with commitment, Gia. So I think that commitment is an expression of self. You know, when our commitments are aligned, okay, when we make commitments from a place of alignment, and those are the kinds of commitments I'm talking about. I'm not talking about I'm going to do this diet and I'm not really committed. You know, like I'm not really in alignment with that. So is that really a commitment? I'm talking about like a heartfelt, soul-felt expression that is a commitment. And so then we exercise our commitments through practice. And I wonder, like in what I'm talking about, it's interesting because, you know, I was talking about how a lot of us have commitments to keep ourselves small, even though they're not conscious, particularly because it's not a conscious commitment and we keep acting on that commitment. So where's the discipline in that? I don't think that it takes discipline. When we have a deep, deep commitment, I think it just means continually refocusing ourselves on that commitment, recognizing it and refocusing on it. So like, for instance, I was talking about this commitment that I have to my clients. When there are disruptive circumstances, I get to look at how do I serve my commitment? How do I best serve it? What can I adjust? What can I, in my presence, how can I presence that commitment? So Gia says, being able to even see your limiting beliefs, commitment to self-destructive behavior also comes after staying long there and not giving up. Exactly. So there is, you know, I'm inclined to say that it's maybe more determination than discipline even, Gia, because I don't know about you guys, but for me, the word discipline, I just rebel against it. It's just like, don't even try to discipline me. And don't, and those are words from self to self here, is because when I try to impose a discipline, another aspect of me says, nope, I'm having none of that, and will blow it up in a heartbeat. So it's not, for me anyway, it's not about discipline. Some people are really good with imposing rules and structures on themselves. I'm not great at that. And so what I am more, what's a lot more effective for me is finding alignment and recognizing my alignment, my deep commitment, my deep alignment to something, in terms of whether it's a belief, or a behavior, or a commitment. Like it needs for me to be heartfelt. So Rosalind says, in a romantic relationship, the evaluation of values would help me. Rosalind, it would help everybody if we understood the values of our partners, and if we found ways to create bridges between our values. To continue, Rosalind says, if I am projecting what my partner should be doing, I ask myself, what is a perceived threat? What is a perceived threat for when I'm triggered? So the projection of shoulds, that's a big deal. So maybe there's a commitment, like a commitment to personal growth and transformation is, for instance, the way I experience it is to say, oh, I see behaviors that I'm not so happy about. I have a commitment to growth and transformation. So that gives me the incentive, that gives me the impulse and the willingness to go through the challenges that personal transformation serves up. And hopefully that makes sense. That the commitment to growth and transformation is part of what will stop me from beating myself up, and will support me in redirecting my energy, shifting my pattern, looking for possibility, learning from a situation. And Gia says, same discipline doesn't work with me too. I am dead opposite. Yeah, like discipline not happening here. And that doesn't mean that we don't have deep practices in our lives. That, like, for me, my primary commitment is toward awakening and evolution of consciousness. And in the context of that, I have a much deeper willingness to shift my behaviors. I have a much deeper willingness to be present to what could be explosive situations. So if I didn't have as deep a commitment to my clients, I wouldn't be able to allow myself to hear them through what might be perceived as an attack, right? When it's not an attack, it's them working through whatever their stuff is, they're feeling threatened in one way or another, or trying to deflect something that is uncomfortable. And I can just be present to that and acknowledge that and say, you know what? I really see and feel and am present to how deeply this is impacting you. Because it's not about me. Like, it's my commitment to them that makes it not about me. So I can be there in a different way. Same thing with personal growth and transformation. When we see ourselves behaving in a way that we're not all that happy about, we can recommit to growth and transformation. So What would that look like in the context of having done something or behaved in a way that we weren't that happy with? Well, maybe since there's a commitment for growth and transformation, it means let's look at how I can turn this into a learning experience. Let's look at how I can move my intention forward. You know, what's available here? And if I were my highest self, if I were my highest expression, how might I interact with this circumstance? So, you know, there are things that I get triggered by as well. And hello and good morning, Elaine. Welcome, welcome. Great to have you here with us. We're talking about commitment and peripherally about discipline and resilience and transformation. So I invite you to look into yourself and look at what your deepest commitments are, and to bring those commitments conscious, so that from that space of awareness, you can utilize the power of that commitment to move you into greater expression of your authentic self and the life you most desire. And to see, like, let's say I say I'm committed to my clients, or you're committed to your family. Well, what does that look like? Because just voicing the commitment or recognizing the commitment is a partial picture. But when we can flesh that out more fully, we can say, for instance, I'm committed to the growth and development of my clients, and what is serving their highest expression. Same with family. I'm committed to my child's highest expression. How best can I support that? What does that look like? Sometimes it looks like conflict. Conflict is not necessarily a bad thing. You know, conflict is sometimes a way for us to get to the next level of relationship, which is what happened in these confrontations that I had this week. It allowed us to get to a deeper level of relationship because we were able to address something that was there. And it doesn't always work out that way. You know, doesn't always work out that way. But like I'm kind of viewing this notion of commitment as holding a vision, holding an intention, holding a space for something to emerge. And it's often not black and white. It can often feel like a slog, you know, just like kind of trudging through one foot after another. But each of those footsteps brings us closer, brings us closer to hopefully our fullest and authentic expression, if those commitments are deeply aligned with our presence and our being. So Elaine says, blissful blessings all. Have a beautiful now all. Thank you, Elaine. And I really do invite you to check into your commitments. So Dido says that resonates, Mira. Sometimes championing the highest and best good is not easy and involves pushback, even anger and denial from another. 100%. That's exactly what was going on in my encounters. So the thing is that it's the shoot the messenger conversation. You know, sometimes having that commitment. I love the way you spoke it, Dido. So perfect. Championing the highest and best good is not always easy and can involve pushback and even anger and denial from the other party. Exactly. It really, truly can. And when we can just be present to that anger and denial, then there's space. When we can be present to that other person and say, I get it. I get you're angry. You don't want to hear that. I get it. And, you know, I'm committed to you. Even if you're angry at me, it's okay. You can be angry. And we don't have to make it about us, because it's not about us. It's about what's going on with that other person in that circumstance. You know, it's like being present to the commitment. So Rosalind says, we shape the clay into a pot, but it's the emptiness inside that holds whatever we want. Stay vigilant, friends. Rosalind, I love that metaphor of the pot and the emptiness inside. So that emptiness is the vast and unbounded possibility, right? We create the container for possibility. I kind of love that. Thank you for that. And that's a beautiful way to end the morning together. So I just want to say thank you so much for engaging in this conversation. Really, really, it's important to look at what are your commitments? What are your commitments that are really aligned with you? Not what the world says, but not what you think you should be committed to, but what are your heartfelt commitments that you're in full alignment with? And then what does that look like in the world? So with that, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And Dido says, what are your commitments? Such a powerful question. Thank you, Mira. Thank you, Dido. And thank all of you who are engaged with this inquiry. It is powerful, and it can be life-changing when you really recognize what your commitments are, because there may be some commitments that were invisible that you might want to shift to. Anyway, until next time, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, and so much love to you. I hope to see you again here really, really soon.